for being with us. I'd like to introduce Pastor Jean Birch, who is the chair of the board of the Clergy Community Coalition.
Thank you, Myra, and thank all of you for coming to stand with us. On the 10th of the month, something happened. It happened before that, but one of our pastors, Pastor McFarland, called us together and said, can the pastors come and pray? Can we just come and pray? We don't know what else to do but to pray. So we gathered at his place of worship in Altadena. We all came together to pray. And something amazing happened on that day. When we were finished praying, we realized that Congresswoman Maxine Waters was in our midst. And when I talked to her and said, she said, I just wanted to be with you. And when we called her up to speak, she said, I was on my way from Washington, D.C. on the airplane, and I heard about this, and I wanted to be here to be with you. And she came that day to join us as pastors who had lost homes and churches and parishioners, and she stood with us that day and she prayed. And we're so grateful for her because she has been with us ever since that moment.
Every step.
And we are grateful for her being here today with us again. So I want to introduce to those of you who I can't imagine that anybody doesn't know her. But if you don't, you need to. Congresswoman Maxine Waters.
Yes.
Thank you so very much, everybody, for being here today. This is an opportunity for us not only to gather support and have people understand that we have an organization here, the CCC, that is capable of not only getting the message out, but being able to receive contributions. This is so important. So many people want to do something, they don't know who to touch, how to get in touch with people, but CCC is a known organization, the Community Clergy Organization, that is here to be able to assist this community. I want you to know I was struck by the fact that ministers had lost their homes and they lost churches. And that really did bother me because I know how important it is for the religious community to support the community. When you have pastors who can give guidance, who can be there in time of trouble, who can pray with you, that has been what has held our communities together. And so when I learned that the pastors were here at this prayer meeting that I went to, one of whom had only the clothes on his back, I was moved to tears as he was moved to tears. And so, having made this connection, I was wondering what could be done aside from the federal government and the state and the city and everybody, FEMA, who has a role. And then I got a call. I got a call from a dear friend, a friend that I've known for years, who was the founder of Essence Magazine. And I served on their board years ago. And he said, Maxine, I want to make a contribution. No, he said, I want to gather some contributions. I want to raise some money to get to somebody. And then, of course, I had it right here on my mind that this is where we needed to be with the pastors in this community. And so I told him about it, and he said, I want to get some money to them. But he did not stop and start calling. He called me back the next day and said, you know what? I'm going to make a personal contribution. I said, well, I'm floored. I mean, Ed, what are you going to do? He says, well, I think I'm going to give $100,000 to these ministers.
All right.
And I was so wowed and appreciative for my friend, someone that I've known to be a generous man. He's a fine businessman, retired, but he is a businessman who cares about this country, cares about the communities, and when he stepped up, he didn't have to do this personally because he knows people on boards and he sits on boards, et cetera, and we want to encourage them to continue. But ladies and gentlemen, he's here today, my dear friend, who called and said, I'm going to make my personal contribution of 100 grand for the ministry. Ed Lewis.
Yes.
On behalf of my wife Carolyn, my daughter Nicole,
Where's Nicole?
Aiden, my family, Virginia, my mother, in terms of what I represent, I was born into this world and I did something very meaningful in 1968, helped bring into the world a magazine that will celebrate the beauty and intelligence of Black women. And here we are 34 years later. This lady is very instrumental in overseeing, as a director, the growth of Essence magazine. And so when this happened, I can't even put it in words with regard to how this has had an impact on all of us. And I wanted to say to myself, I wanted to do something. I have lots of friends, lots of connections, and I will reach out to them to be supportive. But then I said, what can I do? And do it personally. And so I do this to try to be of assistance. I know what all of you are going through, and I know what all of our ancestors had to go through. This is why we're here today.
Yes.
And we need to keep hope alive, keep on moving to build our communities. And I want to be a part of that, to be of assistance. Thank you.
Thank you.